Get off my lawn. Don't turn around in my driveway. And don't drive slow if you're in the left lane. Scooby-Doo-bop-bop-a-deep-a-doop-bop-bop. Surrounded by brilliance.
Welcome back to another episode of the Surrounded by Brilliance podcast. Yours truly, the host, founder, creator, all things awesome, Josh Will. If you've listened to the podcast before, or if you haven't listened to the podcast, I'm just going to let you in on a little secret about what it's about. The Surrounded by Brilliance podcast was created to bring together like-minded people who don't get offended by much, but who are annoyed by most things. It's a podcast where humor, levity, and a smidge of serious discussion will give you a glimpse into my brain, at least the inner workings of it, a self-proclaimed get-off-my-lawn guy. You're going to hear some funny stories. You're going to hear some interesting opinions. You're going to hear some really stupid stories and a lot of grumpiness and a whole lot more from some really interesting people and some not-so-interesting people. So let me tell you about who is on the pod today. My guest today is Jason Stechschulte, and this is a banger of a resume. Let me tell you, Jason was a member of the 1998 Lima News high school football dream team with yours truly. He's a 2003 Trine grad. Hey, let me do your intro. You can give the commentary after, all right? Come on.
All right.
2003 Trine graduate with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. For those of you paying attention at home, Trine is also known as the OG Tri-State University, right? Jason's a Trine football All-American and Hall of Fame inductee. Bow down, everyone. He's a Trine board of trustee member, senior director of business development at Marathon Petroleum, where he has been for 23 years. He interned there when we were in college. I remember that. He's the father of 4 very active children, husband to an amazing wife, and in Jason's own words, the fastest guy on this podcast to date.
100%.
That's Jason's podcast. That's Jason's resume. I added a little tweak there here at the end. Jason also wishes he had went to Delphi St. John's so he could have been a champion.
No.
Anyways, that's our guest, Jason Stechschulte. How are you doing, man?
I'm great. How are you, Jay Will?
I'm good. I am excited to finally have you on the pod. There's been a lot of antagonizing you. If people have been listening to the podcast, they know that you come up as a topic pretty regularly, and we'll get to the specifics of that topic a little later on. So
peer pressure gets to you every time.
It does. I know I broke you down, man. I broke you. So, and if you're looking at your screen right now, Jason, and it looks fuzzy, don't worry about it because it does that. It ends up being clearer in post-production. So
all right.
So what's going on with Jason Stechschulte and the Stechschulte family? What's new? Anything?
Well, first, that very first item, the Lima News Dream Team. So I gotta throw some shout out to my mom. So Josh asked me about this. I had to go look back in time. And this is just proof that Josh and I did not peak in high school, right? We were able to keep it going in college and beyond. So congratulations on being a Lima News Dream Team member. Now, I also want to say Josh's intro about being a Delphi St. John Blue Jay. Not true. The Bulldogs of Columbus Grove also were undefeated, but we couldn't get any airtime because Delphus had this 57-game undefeated streak, blah, 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 going on. So,
that's all right.
I know, but yeah. So what's going on? It's been a busy summer. So we took a family trip to Costa Rica. So that was exciting. Sent the oldest 2 kids off to college here. So Madeline's at Otterbein playing basketball, and Adrian went to Miami of Ohio running track and cross country. One in high school and one in middle school. So pretty busy.
It's a family of athletes.
A family of athletes, divide and conquer.
All right. Well, that's good. Costa Rica, send the kids off to school, and you've got what? So you've got a freshman, you got a sophomore in college, freshman in college, And what are the other grades of the other
Yep.
two?
Yep. So Cam's a sophomore in high school. He goes to
Yeah.
Findlay High School. He runs track, cross country, and basketball. And then Emmy's a fourth grader, going here in Findlay to St. Mike's. She's in a little bit of
Nice.
everything.
Nice. Well, and you said that it's proof we didn't peak in high school. I would make the argument I may have peaked in high school. I would make that argument. I, anyways, I'm not gonna self-deprecate too much here, but yeah, I may have.
Come on,
So,
Josh. You were a bodybuilder for a while.
well, when you say peak, I thought you were talking from a football
Oh,
athleticism
okay.
standpoint,
Okay.
right? And the
I was
bodybuilding
just
thing.
talking your prowess.
Yeah. Well, hey, once an athlete, always an athlete. That's the case. I mean, you know, I'm still an athlete. I just right now I'm an athlete who's trying to lose a few pounds and get back into a little better shape, and at least just get a flat stomach. So if you, yeah, there's gonna podcast is gonna come out here in a couple days with Vanover where you'll find out. Well, now you'll find out. We we got a Peloton, and what I realized is, I go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, and what I realized is had been lying to myself at the gym because I was like, yeah. My wife's always like, so what'd you do for cardio? And I was like, well, I when I weight train, I do a lot. I incorporate HIIT into it,
Oh,
high
yes.
intensity. And she's like, that's not enough. I'm like, yeah, it is. Meanwhile, I'm complaining that I want to lose weight. So what I realized is after 3.5 weeks of this Peloton that, yeah, I was lying to myself because now I'm doing it religiously and going to the gym. And in 3 weeks, I'm down 10 pounds and I have, increased my cardiovascular prowess. So who knows? Next
Well,
time you see
congrats.
me, I'm going to have tree trunk thighs and calves and maybe 6-pack abs from the Peloton.
I like it. Always do the cardio first, Josh. Always do the cardio first.
Oh yeah, I get up in the morning and I get her done. So, Jason, how do we know each other? You've alluded to it a little bit, but I mean, a lot. You've actually alluded to it. So, how do we know each other?
I
Share
have
with the
alluded
best.
to it, but I knew of Josh Will before I knew Josh Will, right? So my family, my mom's side actually comes from Delphus, and they all attended Delphus St. John's, right? So I have a little
That
bit of
makes
connection there. And again, your team
that
was always
checks
in the
out.
newspaper. My team not really in the newspaper, even though we were both undefeated. I don't know. You guys must have had the
How did you
influence.
guys? You didn't make it to the playoffs though?
In the regular season, that's right. So we lost in the playoffs, but the regular season
Okay.
we were also completed.
Yeah, we didn't because we're
Yeah,
champions. But
that's
anyways.
right. You were playing in the smaller division. I get it. We were a little bit bigger school, but anyway. So how do
I
I
think we would
actually
beat you. We would have
how do I
beat you.
actually know Josh? I know Josh from going and playing football. So I think we officially met in the fall of 1999 there at
Yeah.
Tri-State University. Josh at the
Yeah.
time was a safety. I was a quarterback. I didn't really like the Delphus guys because they thought they were really good, and I was there to prove a point. Namely, I didn't last at quarterback more than like 3 weeks, and then I got moved over to DP.
Which ended up being, from my perspective, a really awesome decision. I'm sure you would agree. Although I was going to ask you if, even looking back, knowing what you know now, if you had your choice to play quarterback or safety or DB at Trine, like if you came in and they're like, yeah, you're going to start at quarterback, or we're going to start you at corner, which one would you have chosen?
No doubt, defense. I would have played corner and not quarterback.
Okay.
Something in your mind, and I didn't have this in high school, right? I was a prima donna. I played quarterback. I also played like strong safety outside linebacker, but most of our games we were up so much I didn't play in the second half on defense.
Right.
Something in college flipped where like that first fall day comes, it's cool, and like in your mind you just want to go hit somebody. I still
Right.
actually feel that way. The very first cool day of the fall, I like want to go tackle somebody. I can't. I probably would get fired if I did that, but it's still there.
Pads on. Line your kids up out in the yard.
Office
So,
linebacker.
jeez. So that's how Jason and I know each other. And funny, I guess, prelude to Jason's story. We actually, I knew of Jason also. I'll make sure to give him props because he was very successful in college as an athlete. He's very successful professionally. He was successful in high school too because his picture was always in the Delphus Herald, leading the way of the Columbus Grove Bulldogs. So I knew of him, and then I was standing in line. I was at orientation. It was with my mom and dad at orientation at Tri-State, and I hear some hooligan in the back go, "Oh, well, if it isn't Mr. Delphus, Josh Will." And I had still never actually met Jason up to this point, but I turned around and I was like, "Hi there." And then he's like, I'm Jason. I'm like, and I knew right. I'm like, "Oh, Jason Stechschulte from Columbus Grove." But yeah, so for a moment at my freshman orientation, I felt like a rock star because somebody I didn't know knew me. And then I realized it was just Jason Stechschulte. So it wasn't that big.
Josh, you're much more of an extrovert than I've ever been, though.
Oh, 100%. I'm not going to tell you what our friend Eric Hensel said about you when I said you're going to be on the podcast. So
I can only imagine.
Yeah, I won't tell you. Now I will
My
end up
beard's not
telling you.
nearly as nice as his, though. He's got the best beard for sure on the podcast.
He's got a solid beard, and he's got, I've got a receding hairline. You yourself are.
Yeah, I got way less than that, hence the hat. But hey,
Oh,
the Reds
yeah.
are streaking, boy.
They are, buddy. And I bought that hat this summer, but I didn't buy the right size. I sent it back, and I was like, you know what? I got another Reds hat. I'll just stick with it. And it seemed to be the right decision because they're streaking, man. They're 2 games, 1 game out right now?
They're tied right now, tied with the Mets.
Oh my gosh, I have missed the boat. Like 2 days ago, they were 2 out. I got to focus in.
That's right, lock in.
So that's how Jason and I know each other. We played together.
I do have one quick story. So Josh had the story about me. Let's see if you remember this one. So you,
Sure.
I think, lived on the 4th floor of Stewart Hall. I think I lived on the 1st floor with Andrew Bona. So if you remember, like the people that lived in the units, they would walk over to dinner. And I think this is after I had moved over to defensive back, but we were up in your room. And I don't know who came up with the idea, but like, hey, let's throw water balloons at these unsuspecting people that are walking to dinner. Namely to say, I smoked a girl in the face. I have no idea who she was. I apologized at the time, but I apologize again because I feel terrible about hitting somebody I didn't know in the face from the 4th floor who was going to dinner.
I do remember that. So if that random girl by happenstance ends up listening to this podcast and you hear Jason's apology and you want to say your piece to him, get a hold of me. I'll connect you to Jason. Maybe we'll have you on the podcast and you can tell your story.
Let's do it.
Maybe that may have shaped her life in a way that we don't even know yet. But yes, Jason, he wasn't a man enough to fess up to it. I remember that.
I apologized.
It hit you in the face, and then he ran back, and then I think myself, I might have been like, hey, man, this girl got hit in the face, and she's looking up here at me, thinking it was me, and I'm like, hold on, he'll come and apologize. So, good times. Stewart Hall, I mean, that place got tore down, 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
It doesn't exist anymore. They got way nicer dorms than that now.
Yeah, we built that place, right?
That's right.
So it's all because of us.
That's right.
So that's how we know each other. If you're listening at home, Jason, why did you agree to be on this podcast?
Why did I agree? I would say probably 50% because there's been a lot of discussion about me in my 40 times. So peer pressure got to me. So that, and, I wanted some banter, maybe relive the old days. So I knew you'd be good for some back and forth banter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Eric Hensel's going to watch this, and he's going to be like, boy, I was way off on what I said about Steck. So,
that's right.
And I told him that. I'm like, and essentially he said he was saying you weren't like a super conversationalist, right? And I said, well, you got to get Steck in the right scenario.
That's right.
he's I mean, I'm assuming this hasn't changed much. He's got his mood may not be the right word, but he's got, okay, I want to be quiet and locked in on this. I don't care what we're doing, that's what I'm going to do. But you catch him at the right time when he's happy go lucky, he's joking around, he'll engage a lot more. I remember that from college.
Well, that's
And
right. I mean, some of the best times at college were the lunch and dinner time banter in the cafeteria or wherever we were eating. So I agree.
yeah, it was good times, man. So you've listened to the podcast. You hear the get off my lawn
Mostly,
stuff.
yeah. Well, mostly because my kids like to laugh at your funny jokes about my 40 times. So they're like, "Oh, you got to listen this week." So yes, I do listen.
And because, see, look at that whole new demographic, the
That's right.
20 the 20 and under teenagers are listening. Those scrappy kids. So we talk about get off my lawn on this podcast a lot. When you hear that phrase, personally, what does the phrase just in and of itself mean to you?
Well, I mean, what does it mean, or what do I envision? I thought this
What
the
does the
very
phrase
first
mean?
time.
After this, I'll ask you to give me a scenario, but I wanna know, when you hear that phrase, what does it mean to you? Like,
Yeah, it is the grumpy old man who
yeah,
basically doesn't want those kids on the lawn. But the example that jumps in my head, if you've seen the movie Gran Torino, you got the badass Clint Eastwood. He walks outside, right? You got the gangbangers messing with his car. He's out there,
absolutely.
rifle pulled, like, get off my lawn. That's exactly what I
Boom.
think.
Well, yeah, and honestly, this podcast is a derivation of a moment like that happened for me, that I've talked about on this podcast already. Because this happened, and then I started creating this list. But what happened initially was, a house we lived in prior to this, I gave my blood, sweat, and tears to our yard. Like, I mean, I brought it to life, and I put straight lines in it. I've got a stripe kit, a striping kit, etc.
Oh,
So kids would walk across my yard when they were for trick or treating, and I'm like, that's so GD disrespectful. We didn't walk when we were kids. We were told walk on the sidewalks or walk on the edge of the street, right? Anyways, so that was the how way back this started. So that's not my example today, but what I'll do now is we're going to go to our get off my lawn segment, where I'm going to ask you to talk about a situation or scenario, get off my lawn situation or scenario. So what is that for you today? What are you going to share with us?
sure, sure. The one today to share with you, this happens actually quite often to me. So I said, do your cardio first. So I like to get to the Y. I'm going to run on the treadmill, right? So I'm going to go 3, 4, 5 miles. The problem is the Y here in Findlay, there's like, I don't know, maybe 12 treadmills. Only 3 of them are capable of holding someone of my size running, right? The other ones, they haven't waxed the boards, the motor's going bad, they like skip, like they're not capable of running. So I have these 3 pretty much down. Like if any of them are open, those are the ones I'm going to run on. Inevitably, at least 3 or 4 of the 7 days in a week, those 3 are consumed by the old man who's walking at 1 mile per hour, the young teenager who's looking at their phone and like falling down because they're on TikTok, or the lady who's in like full makeup, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I really want them to designate. I even suggested it, but they won't do it. That like these 3 treadmills are for running, and the other treadmills are for the walkers, right? And we even have a track. If they want to walk, they can walk the track. But
Yeah.
so instead, I have to like kind of wait around. I'm kind of like lifting, stalking the treadmill, hoping somebody gets off of it, and then eventually I'll get there. But that's my get off my
Poor
lawn.
poor gym etiquette.
Or
That has been discussed on here several times, and I'm going to tell a quick little story. But first, because you have listened to the podcast, you know that my goal is for people to understand that, yes, while we can be grumpy on here, we also can find the positive in these different events, and we're not just complete a-holes. So take that scenario, Jason. What positive can you take from it, or how can you make it a positive?
See, so because I've heard the podcast, this is why I use this one. The positive is at least they're there and at least they're doing something. So they're getting a little
Okay.
bit out of it. Now, are they getting the most out of it? Could they be more considerate? Yes, but they are getting something out of it because, they're moving a little bit.
Well, it's funny you brought up gym etiquette, and that's a great positive. Look at you. It just goes to show we're not just cavemen who are grumpy about things. We're thoughtful, and we can think of positives in those situations. And you're right. They're there. They're doing the work. Now, are they doing it to the extent that they should be if they really want to get the results they probably want? No. But showing up sometimes is half the battle. Today at the gym, so I went to the gym this morning, and you know, I like to I like to get it if I'm not, I'll come home and I do the Peloton. So I like to do 25 to 30-minute workouts. I don't want to stay there any longer. So I'm not resting very much at all. So I'll do like 4 different exercises in a section. I'll
Right.
superset, right?
I superset everything. I got you.
Yeah. So that's what I do. I'll either superset 3 exercises or 4 exercises, and then I'll do 2 separate groupings, and I'm doing 3 to 4 different sets of those. Anyways, in the mornings, and I work out the Y here as well. It's what irritates the hell out of me is I have an idea and I know what I'm going to be doing, right? So I will
Right.
have the thoughtfulness to look ahead and be like, okay, that guy's using that. He's probably going to be on it for a while. I'll find an alternative that works the same
Yep.
muscle, right? Well, there might be 4 people there total, and I'll be jumping from here to there to here, and it's blatant because they see me. It never hesitates. I'll be working on something, and it happened today. And I went to go to the little lat pull down, and I look over, and this guy who clearly saw me jumping back and forth is sitting there, and I'm just like, so people. Basically, I'm annoyed by people and their inability to have awareness at the gym. So that happened today. That is actually not my get off my lawn today, though. My get off my lawn situation today is people who turn around in your driveway. So this is like, look, don't turn around in my freaking driveway, okay? It's my driveway. It's my property. First of all, know where you're going. It's not my problem that you don't know where you're going. And a lot of this came from a very good friend of mine who refuses to be on the podcast. This was one thing he brought up, and it's happened to me before, but we also live on a dead end. Our private drive is a dead end. We're the last house on it.
Right.
So most of the time, people aren't intentionally coming down here to turn around. They're being nosy, which is a whole nother
Right. They want to see what
get
you
off my
got
lawn.
going on.
Yeah, that's a whole nother get off my lawn. But my friend, I'm going to tell the story for him. He would just get irritated because he works from home and his office looks right out to his driveway, and he's like, people are always turning around in my driveway. He's like, so you know what I do? I go out there and I set orange pylons, right, so they can't turn around. So it's part of his daily activity in the morning after his wife leaves for work. He puts these pylons out there, which I respect. So part of this is it has happened to me, but his story is funnier. So people who turn around in driveways, it's on you, and you shouldn't do that. It's irritating. And the positive in all this would be that it's a hard one to find a positive in it. So a positive to take away from people turning around your driveway. I don't even know how you make that a positive. I don't
Neither do
think
I.
you can. I
Are
don't.
you going to set cones out now?
I don't need to. I mean, because it's. But what I am going to do, I will tell you this though. People come down and they are being nosy, or I think that if you look at a map, sometimes it kind of looks like you can connect to the street over, but it's our yard, dead end, our yard, and then our neighbor's driveway is over here, and then their road, a different access road. So I think most of the time it's people being nosy or just turning down the wrong way. But either way, it's their fault. They're wrong. But anyways,
May-
that's
Maybe it's Google. Maybe Google gave them bad directions, huh?
maybe. But we live. I mean, since we don't live in the city, because our drive is off of a dirt road out in the country, because we live on a small lake, which you can't have a small lake in the middle of town. So that's why you're kind of out there. So it's people just being nosy, I think. Anyways, so that's our Get Off My Lawn segment. Not too negative. A little bit of grumpy, some fun. So there you have it. So this is where we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna do some not so rapid fire questions. And if you've listened to the podcast, I say not so rapid because I've been sent a message saying, because when I called it rapid fire questions, I was sent a message saying, hey, those aren't rapid fire questions. Rapid fire is boom, boom, boom. You ask questions. You're asking these long, drawn out questions, Josh. So I changed it to appease that person.
You're getting feedback. I like it.
Hey, man, I've got people in different countries listening to this.
All right.
It's pretty cool. So they're obviously there's some grumpy Bulgarian guy listening and getting something out of this. So, or Slovenia, I can't remember where it's at.
You can't wait for Thursdays.
All right. So, Jason, there's some questions that I ask everyone. Here's the first one. What's a fun fact about you that most people don't know?
Ooh, a fun fact. Well, I gave away my Delphus connection. So a fun fact for me is I actually am a high school baseball umpire. I got my license while at Trine or at Tri-State, and I've umpired 4 state baseball games over the years. I don't do much anymore, though.
I remember that. So how many people have you ejected in your tenure?
I think about 3 or 4, mostly coaches, not really players, but I've had some coaches who deserve the heave-ho.
Is your heave-ho a very dramatic heave-ho, or do you just stay calm and say, you're out of here?
A little bit of both. Like with age, you maybe get a little more perspective. So I think my first one was a very dramatic, and after that it got less dramatic over time.
Wow. I knew that about you, so that wasn't a fun fact for me, but if if you're looking for an umpire, he's got the certification. So I don't know why people would be looking for a random umpire, but if you are,
I tell you right now, there are so few umpires, they'll take a warm body. I could umpire a game every single day of a good weather day. There's just not many people doing it anymore.
Yeah. Actually, I knew that. I'd heard that. And that's unfortunate. So, Jason, if you could rewind to when you were 20 years old and I said you either had to give up your looks or your sense of humor the rest of your life, which one would you choose to give up and why?
I'm going to give up my looks, right? Like, I don't know. That's a pretty easy answer for me.
It is. That's the overwhelming response that most people give. So, Mother Nature or Father Time, he's undefeated in looks, but you can hang on to the sense of humor. Undefeated champion.
Just like
here's one for you. They were not anymore.
Well, that's right. Marion Local's got you all beat. So
Marion Local, they broke the streak last year. So if your kids are listening to this podcast, this is a question that will change the attitude for a second and help them pontificate. But what's one thing you 45 yet or 44 still?
I'm 44. 44.
Oh, what's one thing 44-year-old Jason would tell his 22-year-old self?
Ooh. I would say time gets exponentially faster the older you get, right? Like your decade of your 20s, like life is kind of fast, but it's enjoyable. The 30s go faster, the 40s go even faster. So
yeah,
I would say, slow down, take time to smell the roses, Josh.
Yet another wonderful take here on the Get Off or Surrounded by Brilliance podcast. There's a lot of wisdom that's been spread on this, and that's just another one that will add to the list. And there's similarities because as you get older, you understand, your priorities change and you realize I'm not invincible. Now I got to worry about, all right, I have to pay my mortgage. Now I have to pay my insurance. Now I have to make sure my kids don't do something stupid.
Pay for
There's
two
all
kids
these
going to
responsibilities.
college. Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Kids in college. So, yet another great response. So, we alluded to this earlier. There's been a lot of speculation and conversation on this podcast as to what your 40-yard dash sprint was in college. Would you like to clear the air with the speculation? And do you have hard evidence? Because we need the hard evidence.
So yes and yes. So again, my mom comes to the rescue here, Josh. So after graduation, at the time, there was the NFL Combine, right,
Right.
in Indianapolis, but they also
Okay.
did like I don't know some regional combines. So there was one in
Yep.
Columbus that I went to, and as part of that, I had to do a 40-yard dash. We actually did it a couple times there, but it was digitally timed, not hand timed. So this was like a legit 40, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my paper says that I ran a 4.58. So all
Whoa!
you
Whoa! Do you still have the paper? Do
I
you
do
still have the paper?
I do have the paper.
You know, yeah. There's. We were gonna need to see the paper. I will verify it for the listeners. Oh, he's got the paper there. I can't see it, but I see you standing there looking all buff.
I'll send it to
All
you.
right. All right.
We'll get this on the podcast.
Well, there it is. Look at this. The rumors have been dispelled. Coach
Squash.
Nemeth, you started this, Coach Nemeth, by saying that Jason ran like a 5 flat 40. Now, in Coach Nemeth's defense, maybe in college you did run it and you got faster for the combine.
Maybe that was it. It could be.
Maybe.
Could be.
But Coach Nemeth, there's the proof's in the pudding. This guy right here, 4.5840. Because you brought that up, Coach, and then we've talked about it subsequently.
The crazy thing is, it spreads like wildfire. One person says it, and everyone else agrees. So, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe I was
Yeah.
slow.
Well, yeah, maybe you were fast, but in slow motion. Maybe that's how I would describe you. Ironic thing, though, too, that you just brought up. I did not realize, or maybe I did, but it's been so long, that you did the tryout, that you went to the regional tryout thing, because Nick Vanover and I had a conversation last week, and I actually asked him, I said, hey, do you think if Jason Stechschulte ran faster than 5 flat 40, that he could have made it to the next level? And Nick Vanover was all in on you, Jason. He was like,
Well,
definitely. And Nick, if you're listening now, he's not in the NFL, and according to him, he ran a 4.540. So you were wrong, Nick.
it just depends what the next level was. So there were some arena teams at the time that I talked to, but let's just say that was about the time they were folding up and not paying their players. So you could
Right.
play for free and not have insurance or go get a job. Like, it was a pretty easy decision. But no, the NFL, no teams were knocking down my door. So I tried,
Well,
but no dice.
you know what? That's all right. You're still an all-star in my book. So I mean, you're a Hall of Famer. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah. The game's way different though now, Josh. I'm pretty sure I would be called for about 5 defensive holdings or illegal contact and maybe 2 or 3, ejections for leading with my helmet or, hitting a defenseless receiver, all the new rules.
Yeah, because we played football when men played.
That's right.
So
Men to men.
yeah. Now they expect a defensive player to go 100 miles an hour and in a split second change his posture and lift his head up and it's
And if it's a quarterback, you can't land on him either, right?
no, you can't do it. Like, you got to protect those guys. Thank you, Tom Brady. John Bethurham probably started that because he's a golden arm.
That's right.
Or maybe Jimmy Oliver, but who knows?
Jimmy O.
Uh, so here's a funny one that an exercise that Vanover and I were doing. I had said, if NIL was around when we were playing, do you think anyone that we played with would have gotten some of that cash, and who would it have been? So, any thoughts on that?
Only one player I know of that was extroverted enough and out there enough. Andreas Parsley, he would have got no money. I don't know what, but he would have got no money.
You're not thinking outside the box enough, Steck, because I think who did I can't remember who Nick Vanover said, but I'm like, you know what? I could totally see Jordan Geely like getting some kind of like auto dealership NIL. He's driving around in like a white Escalade with like glasses on because he's got the personality, and he'd have like one arm out, hanging out the window, and like stop, and he'd like look in the camera and he'd go, pull his sunglasses down, and be like, "You want to be a champion? Go to Billy Bob's Chevy and get yourself a car or something."
I like it. I like it.
So yeah, all right. That's you know what? I think I brought up Parsley last week too. I don't know that it was about the NIL, but Steck, what are some of your favorite on and off the field memories of our days at Trine/Tri-State?
On-field memory. So the one that always comes to mind, this is like a personal one for me. You'll probably remember, but we were at Malone, I think it was our sophomore year, and it was right before halftime as a close game, and we were punting, and I was like the wing back, for the punt team. So the snap goes back, I'm kind of backpedaling, blocking the guy to the inside, the outside, and I kind of give my final shove to the outside, and I turn a bit, and the ball's on the ground. Like, it was a bad snap. So now, instead of like running downfield, I'm turning around to go get the ball. Well, somehow I ended up with the ball, and all I'm thinking is like, I can't run for a first down. I'm going to get tackled. I can't pass it. Like there's people, linemen downfield will be a penalty. And in like a full sprint, I punted the ball. And it wasn't a bad punt. I think it went like 35 yards. And I'm like,
I remember that.
I don't think I can have ever pulled that play off again, but somehow, like, I got the ball, and somehow in like a full sprint, I was able to punt it, and it was an okay punt. So I do have one career punt in college football. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Okay. Hensel brought this one up. The football spike heard round the world.
What are you doing, Jason?
So we'll just say Big Don
Stechschulte. That was me imitating you. All the respect, but it was funny watching you get. I can say this now. Jason probably can say it too. Back then it was like, but now I mean we're grown men. It was funny watching you erupt and get mad, Coach.
Yeah. So I mean, I got a little chewing, and I got benched for a series, I think, in the game, but that wasn't like. Big Don Stechschulte was none too happy, and like I'm on the field or on the sideline, and I can tell my dad's just fuming. So I'm like, that probably wasn't that good of an idea, but he got over it eventually. So it kept coming to my games afterwards. But
that could have got you some NIL money.
I know. Never did I expect that you could spike a ball and hit it so perfectly that it would go like 25, 30 yards in the air, and simultaneously you can see every official throw their flag at one time. But if you think about it, Josh, normally that's a 15-yard penalty, but it was a touchback half the distance, so I only got a 10-yard penalty for what could have been 15 yards. So see how I turned that into a positive?
Look at that. Math. The math's working there. The math is mathing.
It didn't, though, because I remember this specifically. I think we fumbled the very next play, and they picked it up and scored a touchdown. And I believe Coach Carlson grabbed my face mask and basically said, "See what you did or what happened," or something like that. So,
well, Steck, yeah, because it's a team sport, not a me sport. Way to go.
That's right. So those are a couple personal ones. Some of the other. This is a great on-field one. I hope you remember this because this is like forever ingrained in my mind. So Dan Protzman, somebody that I played in high school and beat, although he tackled me very hard multiple times that game.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing Geneva at home, and they're coming out onto the field, like, running out. And Dan is the only person in the middle of the field. And Dan literally tried to like fight their whole team as they ran onto the field while he was out there.
And
And I mean, 50-50 odds Dan could take him because he's a bad dude. But
he,
I,
yeah,
I'll forever.
he's. I remember a play. I think it was our junior year, where guy was running down the sidelines, and I was getting ready to like just tear into him, and then you see him turn his shoulders to go out of bounds, and so I made sure with my hand to push him out. Right, I stopped because I didn't want to get a penalty, and then I turn around and start running back to the huddle, and all of a sudden Dan comes up, boom, and he hits me, and he grabs me. He's like, why the f didn't you hit him? Why didn't you hit him? I'm like, because I'd have got a penalty, Dan. Well, I don't care. I'm like, Dan, it would have been a penalty, and then they would have had a first down. So, anyways, another fun fact about Dan, and I don't know if you remember this. We played at Tiffin our junior year, a night game.
Yep.
And they scored on us, but then they went for two. I intercept the 2-point conversion and run it all the way back, and I was zigging, zagging, right?
Zigzagging. I do remember this.
Everywhere. Because I think you got 2 points for doing that back then. I don't know if it's the same now. So I score, and I literally am like, I think I need oxygen, because I score, and then I fall down, and everyone jumps on top of me, and I'm just gasping for air, and they roll off, and I hear someone say, "Oh." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "There's a penalty. They called it back." And I was so exhausted. I went over the sidelines, and he comes over to me just dejected. And it's probably the only time I ever saw Dan with like sympathy or feeling bad or like, for his actions. And he's like, "I'm really sorry. That was me." It's like 20 yards behind the ball, and Dan just cracks some dude in the back, But
I bet
yeah.
that guy's still feeling it, though.
Oh my gosh! Any other stories? Fun on the field?
I can't remember if you were part of this. So, like, my favorite practices were always the Friday practice, right? Like, no pads. You kind of go out. I would always go out with special teams, right? Like, I thought I was the kicker. I'd set it up and, kick. I'd go out with the punters and punt. I'd catch kickoffs and punts. I don't know why. Like, I think I maybe returned one kickoff in my career. I obviously punted it once in my career. I never kicked off or kicked a field goal or anything like that. But some of us would play knuckleball knockout. So we would throw the ball on the side, and we could throw it where it would like knuckle, and if you dropped it, you were out. So we would do that, I remember, almost every Friday, and then sometimes even before the games. So that was a good memory. That
Knuckleball. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big fan of knuckleball. We did that in high school even. We would also do, I think we did a little bit of this at Tri-State, but the old goalposts, trying to hit the goalposts with the football. The quarterbacks did more of it, but
yeah. And the linemen, the linemen were always doing their little, like, 7v7, thinking they could catch and run and play quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
And it was always comical to watch. So
yeah, a lot of Heisman poses by 290 plus pound guys, pretty frequently, and not ideal. So, Jason Stechschulte, if I said, "Hey, look at our 4 years at Tri-State, Trine, whatever." Not whatever, but you know what I mean. And I said, put together your top defense from all 4 years, any players, any positions. And I've asked other people this question, but I know you have a memory like a steel trap, and you probably remember even way more than anyone else. So put together that defense, or just start to say some names.
Sure.
at
Sure.
positions.
All right. Well, I'm always going to start with Dan. So I played differently. If Dan Protzman was on my side of the field, I knew he was going to kick someone's ass, and that also meant like I could do things a little bit differently. So,
Okay.
and I run into Dan every once in a while. He's up in Toledo or Sylvania. His daughter actually was in high school, played my daughter in soccer, so we saw each
Oh,
other a
okay.
couple times. But you still don't want
Nice.
to mess with Dan. So he's definitely one. You mentioned Jordan, so when I think of Jordan Geely, he's like a snapping turtle, right? He's like broad back, no neck, immovable. Just throw him in the middle of your defensive line, and he's going to clog up like three guys, right? So
Yeah.
Jordan, he was an impressive one. A guy I think he only played our freshman year. Bill Krasinski was a pretty good player. So he was coming off the edge there. We talked
Yeah.
to Eric Hensel. Eric, he was kind of a in-between linebacker, defensive end. Maybe if he was a little faster, he could have been a linebacker, but instead he had to put his hand
Yeah.
on the ground, right?
Get faster. Get faster, Eric.
Yeah. I know you've talked about this on some other ones, but linebackers, right? Like we had some legit linebackers between
Yeah.
Ike Sturgis. One of the hardest hits I think I ever took was from Ike. He hit me in the back after I tackled a guy, and he never hit the guy I tackled, but his flying dildo spear hit me square in the back.
Yes.
So,
He was a big fan of just jumping in the air, leaving his feet, and leading with his head, and
no
on a
arms,
wing and a
no
prayer,
arms.
on a wing and a prayer, hoping he hits something, right? Um, the
Yeah,
thing is, though, it worked one time, so then he just thought it would work every time, and he thought he was the LeVar Arrington of the NAIA.
that's
So
right. He was. So, I mean, you had John Whirling, a very smart player, always on top of the pile coming out with the tackle, whether he made it or not, to
yeah,
be determined.
leading tackler.
In our great Kyle Chrisman, Kyle was great. He could actually
Yeah,
cover people. Most linebackers, it's just I'm here to tackle and hit people, and I'm not
yeah,
actually going to cover anyone. But he was a good one. You talked about Vanover, another really good guy in the middle. And
yep.
then maybe one again. I think he only played our freshman year. He was a senior, but Wes Novak. Wes was a legit guy out there. Super smart, super
Yeah,
strong, and he would hit you. So.
very smart. Yeah, all those guys were smart.
Yeah. Oh, well, I
So
don't know. I mean, Ike, I
most of
mean,
like the Whirlings, the Novaks, Vanovers, Brent Niekamp, very smart,
oh,
very
yeah,
athletic. We talked with him on the podcast. Like he he probably didn't get the reps that he could have
right.
anywhere else because it's such a deep
That's right.
linebacking group. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I mean, if we flip to the backfield, I mean, I talked a little bit about Andreas again. He was only there our freshman year, but a super athletic guy.
yeah,
I think the prior year before we were there, he had like a really, really good year.
yeah,
We had the corner opposite me, Kadir Mukit.
Luke.
Good player. Maybe not the best hands in the world, but a good player.
Luke, I
So
hope you
yeah,
listen to this. I haven't talked
that's
to you
right.
forever.
I would love to do a podcast with Mook if we can get him on here. It's been probably
Okay,
5 years since I
I
talked to him.
I would
So
love that. I haven't talked to him in a long time.
yeah, yeah,
So
and our safety room was good. I mean, you guys were a little bit slower than us corners, but yourself. We had Jason Hart, who definitely was probably the slowest in the safety
lowest,
room.
lowest. It's a game of angles.
Otto, right? Otto Schregel, another really smart player. He made a lot of plays too. So we had some really good players.
That's look. Like if you could make a super defense just in our 4 years, we we could have won multiple championships. It's just
Right.
you know, then you have to rely on that offense to actually at least score some points. Which
The other thing I think about, like, your defense matters, but kickers matter too. Like PA and Wyatt, they were both great kickers, and like
Yeah.
really put us in good positions on kickoffs, especially, and making field goals. So both of those guys were really good.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Well, when Coach Nemeth was on here, and we talked a lot of football, and he talked about some of the defenses at some of these other schools that he's done, but he gave our class, he gave our junior year, that year that we went to the playoffs, a lot of credit. And I mean, he's right. Like, we were, and if we wouldn't have drew Georgetown and
Right.
maybe been able to get a win in that first round, who knows? But doesn't matter anymore.
That's right. Been in the past.
All right, Mr. Stechschulte. Look, I don't have any other questions, and I always try to keep these between 35 and 40 minutes. We're a little longer than that, but that's because we're having some good convo. Is there anything you wanted to chat about, discuss, Mr. Hall of Famer, all conference, all national, all American, board of trustee? Props to Jason.
I think I would encourage anyone, obviously any of the listeners, any former players, any alumni, like if you haven't been back to the university, I'd encourage you to get there, because what you might think the university looked like or was about is probably way different. I mean, we have luxury boxes in our football stadium. That what were our home stands, those are the away stands, because the home stands are all decked out. And it's not just there. I mean, the basketball arena is amazing. The hockey arena is amazing. The new engineering buildings, or if you're in Fort Wayne, the health services building, like it's impressive. So I would encourage anyone to stop by on campus. I mean, you can talk to Matt Land, the AD, or Troy Abs, the football coach. They'd love to show you around, and I'd encourage that.
Spoken like a true board of trustee member. You got it. Got to get that Trine plug in there. So, are you going to make it to any games this year?
We'll see. I'll be on campus a little bit, but with kids having lots of weekend activities, I typically prioritize all those first. So we'll see.
Sure.
And the college, let's see, Adrian's meets are in like Evansville, Columbia, Missouri, Buffalo. Like these aren't close meets.
Yeah. How often does the board meet? You guys meet quarterly or you meet monthly?
We have 3 per year.
Okay.
Sometimes there's additional, like maybe a phone call, but 3 regular times per year.
On campus, I assume?
2 of the 3 are typically on campus. Yep.
Nice. Well, there you've got it, folks. Look, Jason Stechschulte, an impressive guy. He still wishes he was as cool as me, though. But what are you going to do?
I don't have a hat with my picture on it. I know that.
Yeah, it's modest, not so much, but it's the logo. But what are you going to do? This is a podcast for fun and levity and ridiculousness, and me wearing a hat with my own face on it are all those things. So, when in Rome, I guess. But look, I appreciate you making the time. This has been fun. This has been the biggest benefit of me doing this ridiculous, silly podcast, is reconnecting with old friends and catching up like we hadn't, not talked as long as we had. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate the listeners. So thanks for coming on, Jason.
Yep. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn. Don't turn around in my driveway. And don't drive slow if you're in the left lane. Scooby-Doo-bop-bop-a-deep-a-doop-bop-bop. Surrounded by friends.